Today's podcast is brought to you by Blue Canary. The bird has landed on beautiful Bainbridge Island, conveniently located at 499 Madison Avenue. ASE Master Technician Clint Ramsey brings over 15 years of experience, award-winning diagnostic skill, and a desire to reinvent the automotive repair experience. Schedule an appointment online at bluecanary.biz or call them today at 206-451-4220. I got something for your mind, body, and soul. I got something for your mind, body, and soul.
You have found the B.I.STANDER podcast. Now here's your host with the most, Tiny Tim.
What's good, Podcastville? You found the B.I.STANDER podcast. Happy generic time of day to you. We have a bond measurement. I believe that's what we would call that.
A bond measure.
Bond measure. Coming up here in the next election cycle regarding our aquatics here on Bainbridge Island. And we have Tom Goodlin and Joy Archer here on the program. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Tom, welcome back. Tell me a little bit. Oh, well, who wants to start first? We'll go ladies first, huh? What's your passion about swimming?
Oh, that's a really big question. My passion started with my daughter, who is now 28, and she early showed a lot of great swim talent and ended up swimming Division I in college. And then somewhere along the way, I got involved in masters swimming, and I'm a masters swimmer. And then the third level is we live on an island, and I think swimming is really important for our community to have easy access. So that's another passion.
Do you swim in the Sound at all?
I do. Year round. Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Polar plunge?
Well, that's for amateurs, but
okay. How about when you stand on the board and paddle? What do you call that?
What? Paddleboarding.
So simple.
I know. I really cannot handle paddleboarding. I don't have the skill for that. It's wiggly, it's scary. Put me on a kayak. I'm much more comfortable.
What's your favorite part of the island to swim on?
Well, we've got a group that swims at Blakely Harbor, and that's definitely one of my favorites. It's always got pretty decent conditions as far as protection from the wind, and
water flow goes in and out every day, multiple times. Yeah.
Well, twice in a 24-hour period. That's how the tides work.
Okay, I'm new to it. I thought the Earth was flat.
Stick with us; we'll get you there.
Right. Tom, what's your passion about swimming?
For me, I've always loved the feel of it, I think, and I started out young. That my parents tell me at 1.5, I was getting a gulp of breath and going down to the bottom of the lake and coming up a little bit later. They were a little worried, but it'd always come up. So I started YMCA swimming, a club, 11 or 12, and continued through high school. And I've always was kind of slow, but I did pick up water polo in high school and was actually pretty good at that. It was better with the hand-eye coordination.
It seems like a cool sport, and we always seem to have a bunch of kids playing water polo, and they're very fortunate to have a pool here on the island to have a water polo team in the first place, I think.
Yes, correct, yeah. We'll get into why it's inadequate, but in some ways, but they do a great job with what they've got, for sure.
Right on. So we have an aquatic center here where we got my favorite, Lazy River. We have a bunch of toddler type areas with water treatment centers, raining down on the kids. And then we have a lap section, a diving section, I'm not all that familiar about what other amenities. I know there's a sauna and a steam room there. It's pretty big, and people from Seattle even come across the water to go to the Aquatic Center, and it's well received. What type of things are we trying to bring to the Aquatic Center to improve it with this bond measure?
So first, to clarify, our Aquatic Center has 2 pool areas. The one you just described with the cool, lazy river, and there's a dive tank. That's in the newer facility called Nakata, the Don Nakata Pool. And then there is adjacent to this, the Ray Williamson Pool, which was built in 1970, which makes it 54 years old. So we've got the 2 facilities. The Nakata one is not undergoing any upgrades except for some pool liner replacement that's going to happen in August. The Ray Williamson Pool, however, is deteriorating beyond its lifespan. So the most significant upgrades are going to be things that we can't really see. It's going to be HVAC, safety, mechanical, plumbing, replacing drains, bringing it basically up to the standard it needs to be to operate for another 2 decades or so. In addition, since we're doing that work to preserve our pool, we saw an opportunity to potentially expand it by 2 lanes and make the depth level, which is safer for activities like water polo and lap swimming. Whereas right now we have a 3-foot depth on one end, which is very shallow and can be dangerous. So the upgrades are going to be to prevent the Ray pool from further deterioration and bring it up to standard, as well as expansion and depth leveling. That's what the bond will give us.
So basically needed maintenance and then making the pool level and adding 2 lanes to the lap swim area. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I want Tom to add his thoughts on why this is important.
Now, my first question to you guys, is it just the minimum like that, or are we talking like, I always think that there should be solar panels on that because there's so much light above the Aquatic Center. Are there other things that bring it more up to date or more modern?
There are. The staff at the Park District is looking at solar panels, working with someone that could provide some grants for that. And there's a chance that could go through and it would be able to cover the electrical costs for the facility. So that's a good thing, but it's actually separate from this project.
There's a public meeting Monday.
There is this Monday, the 15th at 6:30 p.m. at the Aquatic Center. The park staff will be presenting information. So it's been recognized for quite a while, a couple decades, that the size of this competition pool is limiting the activities. All the programs are kind of chock full. It's a very active pool. There are wait lists historically for the various programs, so people kind of have to wait in line to get their turn.
But is that also a product of lack of lifeguards and staffing?
No, this is mostly just the pool space itself. It's 6 lanes, and while in 1970 that was good, there was the first pool on the island, the public pool. It was built as a multi-purpose pool so that there is the shallow end, for beginning swimmers and play and so forth, and then the deep end for diving. But with the addition of the other pool that's warmer, it's more suitable for play, and it has a dive tank as well. So no longer does the Ray Williamson Pool need a deep end, and the shallow end actually gets in the way of things. Plus, within the building itself, we can expand up to 8 lanes. And so that is a priority to help serve the community as far as make more swimming space. As Joy mentioned, this is looked at as the one opportunity for doing this for the next couple of decades. The community has looked at possibility of building a new pool, like on the north side of the Aquatic Center. But I would say that the park commissioners balked at the $40 to $50 million price range that had associated with it. And so this is a way, taking advantage of the deferred maintenance activities that will be going on at an incremental cost of roughly $5 million to make these improvements to the pool that will serve the community for the next couple of decades.
Okay. There's two things I want to talk about is the money and serving the community. We'll start with serving the community because I think the money is a longer talk. We have Pleasant Beach pool. It is a private club waiting list. Not even residents can get in there. A Wing Point, expensive, exclusive golf course with a pool. We have the Bainbridge Island Recreational Center. It used to be an athletic club that has a very small pool in there. You can get season passes, I believe, and not have to be a member there. Is that correct? Or do you have to be a member and have additional pool fees?
So at the recreation center, the Park District facility, one does have to, right. Yes, it's in the middle area of Cora, and it's a small pool, and it doesn't have a separate entrance, so it's part of your membership fee, or you can do a stop by daily fee to use that pool, and it's available seasonally. It's I believe 3 lanes and about 3.5 feet deep, and
that's how I feel about the steam room. It's seasonal at best.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's good for people that like to be outdoors and casual swimmers, but it doesn't really meet the needs of a competition pool.
It's very limited.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guess,
and the other clubs you mentioned, the private facilities, they come with a steep joining fee, and so a lot of people cannot afford the $2,500 or whatever it is for a family to join.
So that brings me into the money in the Aquatic Center, and how does that get paid for? Is there fundraising going on currently? Is it just the bond measure and our tax dollars? Is there grants being written? When I think of a pool, I think of something that loses money, number one. And number two, I think of all the places where, last year and probably this year too, we'll have to have heat relief shelters here in Kitsap County. And a lot of ways, other metropolises get around that is having, a water feature and an outdoor pool. And that's just a daily fee or whatever, $5 entry. And it's the entire summer. And during this heat wave, and it's usually quite large. Isn't that a more serving of all type use than perhaps continuing to put money in a building that's going to continue to deteriorate? And you said a couple decades. That's for this portion that we're redoing. I'm sure there's more failures to every building as it gets older.
You layered a lot of questions in that statement.
He likes to do that. Ask about 10 questions.
10 things.
Let's shut up for 10 minutes and let you guys talk.
So I'm going to address the parts that I want to address.
Please.
The question about the money and paying for it. Yes, there is a fundraising campaign underway. Right now, we're asking for pledges because once the bond passes, then we'll move into full-on fundraising to help support the projects for the pool. But in the meantime, our effort really is on passing this bond measure so that we can get all of the work done at once, which is a really important thing to do because of the savings that we'll get with going ahead with existing permitting and with current rates on construction, because that cost is rising constantly. So I've addressed the pain. Yes.
I want to elaborate more on that.
Yeah.
Does a bond mean that we're in favor of this type of construction? And then does that mean there's taxation on the community?
Yes. So
what would that cost per family? And how do I justify it if I'm one of the families that not a pool goer?
mm-hmm. That's a really good question, and it's really important for us to consider that, the impact of the bond on the families on the island, because we are once again raising property taxes. That's what a bond does. So this one is estimated to raise property taxes on a home valued at $1 million. The cost is $60 annually. That's the increase. Is that accurate, Tom?
Yes, it's based on 6 cents per $1,000 valuation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please continue on cherry picking earlier questions.
I can't remember what they were now.
Well,
Beautiful.
Let's talk
let's give
about,
Tom a chance.
We're
Yeah.
talking about the cost and the funding of things. So there's a contrast between the two options for the community. One is no bond is passed, and that means that the park district will go ahead with addressing some of the pretty much all the deferred maintenance, and that's at a cost of $6 million. Funding for that would come from reserves that the park district has. They've saved up to pay for some of this, and they have $2.5.
So you have accrued money in the Parks Department for some period of time.
So they have $2.5 million targeted to the pool, but they have to borrow the other $3.5 million. And so that comes with a cost, and that cost is $350,000 a year for 15 years to pay off the loan. And what that means is that there's less funding for other park improvements over those 15 years at a rate of $350,000 a year. So out of a typical capital improvements fund annually of $1.2 million, it would drop down basically to 2/3 of that to $850,000, depending on how the budgets are, set up each year. And if the bond measure passes, it's phrased as up to $10 million, and that would mean that the project would be funded by the bond measure, by some of the reserves I mentioned, and also the fundraising. So those three in combination would pay for the project.
So if we've accrued $2.5 million as a Parks Department, how much have we accrued from those pledges? And will those pledges only come if the bond
So
is approved?
here's the rub on fundraising right now. So, like I said, if the measure does not pass, I sure hope it does, but if it doesn't, then it's just deferred maintenance and it's unsexy. This is something that has to be done to keep the pool going. And I haven't spoken to anyone yet who wants to donate to just that sort of thing. But if we can make an improvement, then there's something to present to people and get excited about that. Hey, we can add 2 lanes. We can deepen the pool on the shallow end and get more space. And so there's the big benefit from going ahead with this.
Also, if we go ahead with this, how do we get more money in the future for additional projects? Because the things that we mentioned and we're tackling aren't the only things that are going to fail out over time for the age of the building.
Yes. So this is what I described about the lost opportunities of having to pay back the loan of $350,000 a year. So there's that, which would be $5 million over the period of 15 years. And then if we can expand the pool, there is additional programming that can be done. There's more people they brought in off a wait list, more swim classes, this sort of thing. And
to increase revenue.
You would increase revenue, a net estimated at about $100,000 a year. So that gets you up to about $7 million over that period. So that money is then in the park district's budget, is available to the budget to do some of these things. So there is the opportunity to do a lot more, and there is need for many facilities to be worked on, upgraded, maintained, and so forth across the district.
And if we're going to count on that money through lessons and stuff, do we have enough employees to teach those classes to make that revenue? And do we have enough lifeguards? Because I've always heard there's shortage, and a lot of classes are getting canceled because either they don't have an instructor or not enough patrons, because we seem to be losing the youth. Are we set up for a little bit of failure here? And are we only servicing people like ourselves, like adults, that would use those type of parts of the facility?
No, it's so the management of the facility has been different people over time. And right now there's a terrific woman, Jeanette Renault, who's very capable. She's got staffing way up, and she's fully staffed right now, and they're able to provide all the lessons this summer that they can. There is a wait list still because there's only so much pool space, and there's
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like if someone wanted to go midday at noon or something like that, I think there's some class space available. But with working families, they prefer nighttime or weekends, and those are all full. And so if we had more space, there'd be ability to provide some of that.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes there's a lack of resources for the opportunities for kids to participate in sports. I mean, I really feel like we need a lit football, lacrosse, soccer field, that's on a timer till 10, so we can get eke out another 3 or 4 hours of training and revenue for these sports, and have more people participate in them, because it kind of sucks when you have one program, whether it be football or lacrosse or softball or anything, and I have to stick every team on that field because you only have 3 hours of daylight between 3 and 6. And I know we're not representing Parks Department here, but I hope Parks Department is listening, that, I want the responsibility of the parks to be providing those type of resources so more people can participate. And I have a little bit of fear when we're talking about lane swimming and, are we servicing the kids, and are we getting more kids involved in swimming? They're going to be lifetime customers of the pool.
Yeah, absolutely. There will. And there's also jobs available for teenagers. Jeanette, who I mentioned, she said right now they have 15-year-olds working this summer. So that's a minor benefit, but it's good if you're trying to keep kids in high school active, and it's a good place to have a job.
And I don't think anyone is confused about the pipeline at the pool, which starts with the kids. It starts with the swimming lessons. If you don't have the swimming lessons fully staffed and fully operational as a program, then you're not having kids cycling into the Bainbridge Island Swim Club, and then into the high school teams, and into the water polo, and eventually, hopefully, into the master's program. So everyone understands that pipeline, and definitely the priority is to make sure that those programs are getting what they need out of this initiative.
Yeah, I hope the priority comes to kids and a lit field, for all the kids that play fall sports. There's just X amount of daylight and X amount of fields, and we're at capacity in many sports. So
it's true. Nice. So as I mentioned, there is, lost opportunity if the park district has to go out for a loan with the measure not passing. But if it does pass, as I described, there'll be more money, and there are many needs out there. One is upcoming returfing of the Battle Point fields. There's Strawberry Hill Park that's more than doubled in size to almost 40 acres, and the need to program those out. Like pickleball is approaching the park district and saying, hey, can we build a covered facility? Naturally, that would probably fall on Strawberry Hill Park, but there needs to be new roads and parking lots and bathrooms and that sort of thing. And that sort of thing could be funded if the park district has the money.
Yeah, and hear me out, pickleball people at Battle Point. They're dominating our park. Just a canopy type thing over the courts. So it provides shade and rain shelter, and we could play all the time and have the lights pointing straight down on the courts inside that without building 4 walls around it.
Are you a pickleball player?
I played it once.
Did you enjoy it?
All until I fell in the net. I think of it, I love tennis. And I played tennis, and I thought it was going to be more tennis-like, but it's more like me bending over for a ping pong tournament. you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I play ping pong with family all the time, and it's waist high. But pickleball, I got to bend over and
Yeah.
slap that thing. It's loud too.
Mhm.
But I really like to see many ways, to get people out and active.
Yeah.
Whether it be pickleball or soccer at Battle Point or whatever.
I think Battle Point's the Green Lake of the island. It's a hub of healthy activity.
But Strawberry Hill Park will be that way as well pretty soon. There's a lot of development going on, and there's strong interest in providing that development. And if this measure passes, then we'll have better funding available to do those things.
Flag football at Strawberry Hill Park was one of my best experiences as a parent. It's pretty cool.
I just want to
Get back on the pool.
No. I want to agree with you that flag football, right on, and also underscore what Tom keeps saying, which is if the bond passes, if our community votes yes for the bond, that frees up $5 to $7 million for other park programs over a 15-year period. So if you're out there saying, well,
it doesn't accrue more debt for the whole parks department.
No,
because we have to pay back the $350 a year or whatever with that bond.
That would happen.
It's free money.
So if the bond does not pass, then we have that $350,000 a year loan to pay back because we would have to do the deferred maintenance anyway, and that would require taking out a loan.
And if the bond does pass,
then we don't need the loan.
But it's passed on to
the cost is passed on to the taxpayers. Yes.
Okay, I think I'm clear now.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got for me here? I think the one thing that I feel is missing is a crosswalk to Sakai Park from the Aquatic Center.
Yeah.
There's so much traffic there, very little parking. It's right next to the elementary school. And the kids want to go out there and play after school or show their grandma or, stuff like that. And the roads, especially with the construction right now, pretty dangerous to cross. And it just makes sense to put some white striped lines right there on the corner of Aquatic Center going into Sakai Park.
I'm 100% with you on that one. But crosswalks are a city
planning commission.
They're in their province, and so I know it's been identified as a need. I just don't know where that sits.
All right, if you're out there listening too, I want a 4-way crosswalk at the ferry. All four sides go at once when the ferry dumps the people, pedestrians. So, last couple minutes here. Why do you think, Joy, people should vote for this?
Because we live in a community that values an activity like swimming and making it equitable and accessible for more people.
Do you think this does make it equitable and accessible for more people?
No doubt. Absolutely.
Okay. Tom, why should people vote for this bond?
I've had a few people ask, why vote for it if I don't use the Aquatic Center? But in truth, most families on the island over time have used the Aquatic Center for swim lessons, or they go there occasionally. Birthday parties. Someone likened it to having the library. I don't personally go to the library very often. I can't remember how many years it's been. But I love the fact that we have a library that's a resource for people, and people get a lot out of it. So to me, it's like that. The pool also plays a strong role in developing a sense of community on the island. You get that when you're there. There's people doing just so many different things. And we are so lucky to participate in a master's group where we get together. It enhances our civic engagement. We mix with people of different ages and professions and all. It's just terrific for that. And I just get a kick out of seeing so many age groups there using this pool. And I just would love to take this opportunity, once in a 20 or 50 year opportunity, what have you, to improve the pool so that more people can access it.
Yeah. Tell me more about the idea of the alternative pool. Who came up with that? The one north of the Aquatic Center that you were talked about early on?
I don't know if we talked about it, but there is an idea actually near the barn facility where
So
some people,
just quick pause,
Yes.
because there's two different ideas that Timothy is referencing. One is the older idea, which the park district looked into to build a new pool under the park district auspices. And then there's a new initiative called Friends of the New Bainbridge Pool, which is what Tom's referring
right.
to.
And they did a feasibility study, which essentially shows that it's not feasible because the island will not support two separate public pools.
Was there
only can support
ever
one.
an idea about Sakai Park having a pool?
Yeah,
Briefly,
that's where I
yeah.
got started back in 2015. There was a planning process, and a number of us were hoping that a new pool could go there because, the area around the current aquatic center is pretty tight, and it's leased from the school district. So Sakai seemed like a natural place, but the commissioners at the time decided that it was so much more efficient to have one facility, with a common entry area and locker rooms and so forth, that it would only made, and lifeguards being present, that it only made sense to do them together. And that was pursued for a while. But like I said, the main sticking point was the cost. And we're talking about a $10 million bond, but perhaps that would have been a $15 million bond to get that done. And it's just a much higher lift. And it was felt that was beyond affordable.
And so if this bond passes and we're able to do this expansion, we're getting a new pool under the same roof for $10 million, which is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal opportunity.
And Sakai Park's getting 2 tennis courts. Is that what I heard?
Yes, that's true. 2 courts are being built, and it'll be followed in short order, meaning maybe next year, with a playground, picnic area, bathroom, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have like a community, gathering place. Small.
Right. People ask, what's happened to Sakai Park? So yes, it's mainly trails. It has the trolls. It's a quirky feature, and it will have tennis courts, and the tennis community is really excited about that. And that also will allow, once those courts are open, pickleball will be able to take on the tennis courts at our Battle Point. So that's expanding as well. So a lot of good things are happening.
Those 2 groups still getting along?
They try. Yeah. I mean, there was like has been happening across the country. There's some conflict when you're trying to share courts, but my understanding is they're doing pretty well.
Yeah. That's what I hear too.
Yeah. Like I play soccer, if nobody knew. And I was playing a couple weeks ago on the new turf at Woodward, and they have the lacrosse stripes sewn into the turf instead of painted on. And I stubbed my toe and just ripped up a big 4-foot chunk of that turf and took a header. And there's a complication of sharing the same field, right? And tennis and pickleball, it'd be nice if they could figure out a way where all of a sudden you have split the court with a new net down the middle, right? And then you got 2 pickleball courts, because I think there's a lot of pushback for individual resource type activities like a tennis. There's no more than 4 people playing, and same with pickleball. Lap swimming, you got 6 lanes, right? A lot of people have that thought process that it's not serving enough people, right? But what is?
Yeah, that's a really hard argument to go against, because it's about more than just the individual people who are getting the benefit. It's such a much bigger community picture.
So, Tom, tell everybody about this meeting Monday. I'm going to try to get this podcast out early.
Oh, you bet. Yes. So this Monday, 6:30 p.m., the Park District staff will be presenting the features of the bond measure and what the designs would mean and some implications of the project.
Awesome.
July 15th.
Monday. Start your week out. Great. And then voter pamphlet should be out now.
I got mine.
Yep.
And then ballots come out with the 19th or something like that.
Yep.
Look at me trying to understand all this stuff.
Look at you doing so well.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Joy. I appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks, Timothy.
And I'll look forward to talking to you again. You've been listening to The Bystander. Be kind.